Hello everybody. In your 20s and 30s, you are incentivized to work on a specific tech stack and you get a job as well the same way. Either you are a front-end developer, back-end developer, full-stack developer, Java, AEM, so on and so forth. But as you grow in your career, once you hit that mid-30s, 40s, 50s, there is one more component which becomes an essential part of your growth, and that is your industry knowledge. Yes, there will be questions like how many years did you spend in this industry and what are some of the specific tools or some of the specific skill sets that you have with respect to this industry. The questions would be more and more focused on this industry. However, in our 20s and 30s, we are never incentivized to learn about these industries. And I want to start this video giving some quick examples into how this industry knowledge could be very useful for you. Let's start with a simple example that is at the highest level in IT services industry. CEO of Tech Mahindra. There was a recent change of CEO for Tech Mahindra 9 months back, and Mohit Joshi is their new CEO. And guess what? A quick glance through the entire LinkedIn profile of Mohit Joshi gives us an indication of where he spent majority of his time. That is in financial services. He was a senior VP and head of global financial services within Infosys for a very long time. And if you look at the actual revenue percentages of how much money Tech Mahindra makes from banking, Infosys makes from banking, or any other company makes from banking, there is a very clear difference. Tech Mahindra makes only 15% of their overall revenues from banking, while TCS and Infosys, it is in 30%. So you can see that Tech Mahindra's emphasis is now to grow in the space of banking and financial services. And hence, when they got an opportunity to get a new CEO, their priority was somebody who has that industry experience. They did not go behind a full stack developer. Similarly, from my personal experience, when I talk about management consulting, I have seen a lot of my colleagues growing into the roles of industry leaders. Well, I started off as an analytics specialist and then I moved into marketing, but very quickly I was asked to focus on one or two industries, and I focused a lot on e-commerce, technology industry and similar areas. But it was becoming very obvious that for you to go and give advice in the management consulting industry, that's what consultants do, right? Give recommendations to senior leaders in any company, and your recommendations, when you go ahead and talk to these clients, should be very industry specific. You can't say that I'll give you general gyan. Doesn't work. The third advantage, actually spending and learning a lot of industry insights, is that our technology careers are not having a lot of longevity. Today, there is some technology, 5 years down the line, the technology is completely out of the market. But the stability in the core sectors, the stability from an industry standpoint is always higher. So once you know an industry, and once you are working on technology projects within that industry, you get to spend a lot more time in the same job with actually good stability and also good work-life balance. Now, a simple question to you before we jump into the next section, that is, how many of you are actually trained on industry knowledge in your companies? Does this ever happen? You might be trained on Java or some technical skill, but did you ever get trained on industry specific insights? If yes or no, do let me know in the comments. If yes, also let me know your company name. I would love to know that company. Now, moving on to the second section, is this industry knowledge really helpful for me in the short term as well? The answer is an absolute yes. And how is that? Because when we think about shifting jobs, we always think about within the landscape of IT services companies. But there are also traditional core sector companies, manufacturing company, healthcare, pharma, banking companies, and all these guys need technology folks as well. And if you have that expertise, at least 3 to 4 years experience in a specific industry, you can apply for roles in that specific industry itself. For example, if you have worked at Wells Fargo, your experience at Wells Fargo, even if it is in the testing domain or technology domain, whatever it is, would be highly regarded when you go and work for other banks, JP Morgans, Chase, any of them. And banking is a very high paying industry. So having expertise in these kind of industries will make your career growth much more smoother. And it is not just about one way, learn the industry and then jump into that industry. It could be understanding which technologies are trending in which industry and making a jump based on your technology preference as well. For example, if you look at manufacturing right now, there is a lot of emphasis on IoT, Industry 4.0. If you have worked on any of these projects, then you can jump into the manufacturing industry and then transition your career into a manufacturing tech architect, manufacturing tech engineer. Or if you are looking at healthcare, data privacy is a very big thing. So data privacy experts or folks who got an opportunity to work in the technology areas related to data privacy should be looking at healthcare. In the space of banking, it is cyber. If you look at now, recently shipping industry or retail, these are considered to be much more traditional and slow industries, and you can talk about digital transformations. So it is not just about learning the industry and then jumping into it. It could be the other way. Learn the technology, see where the applicability of the technology is, and then jump into those industries. Now, you can ask me here, but how do I learn these things? One, you have to extensively read, and this might not be very obvious for you in the first day or 2 days or the first 1 month, but very quickly you will realize that, hey, if you have a focus area in technology, you will realize where it is growing. Or if you have a focus area in industry, you will realize what are the technology trends within that. Either ways is fine, but once you start reading, you will immediately learn that. The other way is you please go ahead and check out my YouTube community tab, and I have started a problem solving contest. I will keep posting one business problem every single weekday. And over there, you get an opportunity to think about the problem statement and respond to that problem statement as a comment. And I'll add a model solution on top of it. There is absolutely no risk, and it's only learning. My objective is you learn about business problems, industry knowledge, and also functional knowledge as well. Please do let me know if this is interesting and do participate in the challenge. Now, the third section is understanding which company to join even within the IT services landscape would become much easier. You will understand, hey, which company is performing better versus not. And what do I mean by this? If you look at all the IT services companies right now, in the latest quarter, HCL Tech was the only company which has grown by 6% year over year. And the rest all companies were struggling for a growth between -1% to +2%, something like that. And why did HCL Tech actually outgrow rest of the companies? The simple reason is HCL Tech has a much more diverse base. As we talked previously, all the other companies have an emphasis on banking sector, and banks were having tough time in the last few quarters. But if you look at HCL Tech gets close to 20% of their revenues from manufacturing clients, and manufacturing sector itself was booming a lot in the last 1 year. Others companies like TCS, Infosys, Wipros, these guys, manufacturing revenues are less than 10%. For HCL Tech, it is 20%. So when one of their biggest sectors is growing, they benefited a lot. And what about banking? TCS has 33% of its revenues coming from banking. Wipro has close to 30%. Infosys another 30%. And banking did not grow. So all those companies' revenues did not grow much. So you see, it is not about what you do well versus not, what TCS, Infosys or any other company does well versus not. Do these companies play in the right sectors? Do you yourself play in the right industry? That becomes the question. So you have to understand the industry trend so that you can decide where you want to play and if playing the right game versus not. And as a closing thought, one of the strongest points with respect to choosing and pivoting a career with an industry bent of mind is the stability angle. In the technology IT services domain, once we hit that 35, 40, 45, we are always thinking about, hey, is my job stable? Will I do the same thing in the next 5 years? What will I do? The freshers are coming and taking it over. All these concerns are actually valid. But once you jump into that industry, these concerns are not valid anymore. The jobs are really stable. The markets, the shocks, the industry shocks that we have been going through in the last few quarters, those do not disrupt these industries much. So your job is actually safer. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you understood this alternate perspective about thinking your careers, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye-bye.